I come from a land, from a faraway place, where the caravan camels roll. Where it's flat and immense and the heat is intense. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. When the wind's from the east and the sun's from the west and the sand in the glass is right, come on down, stop on by, hop a carpet and fly to another Arabian night.
Bring it on.
What's the deal with Santa?
What's the deal with the terrible opening question? Can't you be a little bit more specific? Do you want to know about his choice to wear red? The story of Santa is incredibly easy to research. Why include it in a video that could be used for something good? Something that can build bridges.
So breaking and entering is okay long as it's a chubby white dude.
Where is the breaking and entering here? Santa goes into homes where he's welcome. He is being invited in, which is contrary to breaking and entering. For fuck's sakes, BuzzFeed, how could y'all put something this dumb in your video?
And he's eating your mama's cookies?
Assuming that they are my mama's cookies, they were made for Santa to enjoy. I get that you don't do Christmas, but from one non-Christmas person to another, I need to know how you can say such imbecilic things.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. And a Happy New Year.
When are you going to stop asking me if I pray 5 times a day?
Technically, I would have to start asking you first, which I don't do because I don't care.
That's so mean.
Oh, you've done it! You've hurt my feelings.
How and why is it mean to inquire about your faith and how invested you are in it?
Because I don't. I feel guilty.
Oh, you don't do one of the 5 most important parts of your faith, and it's my fault that you feel bad about it? Are you even a real Muslim, or are you just playing the part?
Why must you put bacon in everything?
Well, one man's poison is another man's bacon.
Bacon-infused donuts? Come on now.
Why not? Both are things that you fry. Personally, I have no interest in trying it, at least not at this given moment. But clearly some people like it. Don't want it? Don't eat it.
Is this water safe to drink?
Probably not, considering that the bottle releases various things, such as chlorine, BBP, dioxin, aluminum, bacteria, and arsenic into the water that you're drinking, which can cause health problems, like increased risk of liver and breast cancer and God knows what other cancers, changing your immune system's utility, increased risk of learning and behavioral problems, potentially becoming diabetic.
Nausea, vomiting, water weight gain, lower back pain, receding hairline, eczema, seborrheic psoriasis, itching, chafing clothing, liver spots, blood clots, ringworm, excessive body odor, uneven tire wear, pyorrhea, gonorrhea, diarrhea, halitosis, scoliosis, loss of bladder control, hammer toe, the shanks, low sperm count, warped floors, cluttered drawers, hunchback, heart attack, low resale value on your home, feline leukemia, athlete's foot, head lice, clubfoot, MS, MD, VD, fleas, anxiety, sleeplessness, drowsiness, poor gas mileage, tooth decay, parvo, warts, unibrow, lazy eye, fruit flies, chest pains, clogged drains, hemorrhoids, dry heaving, and sexual dysfunction.
There's bacon in this water, huh?
Bacon would be the least of your problems, lady.
Do you really think women wearing a hijab don't have hair underneath?
You serious?
I don't think I've ever heard that one before. That's kind of awesome for something absolutely ridiculous. No, when I see a woman in a hijab, assuming that it's someone in a country that I know doesn't practice Sharia law, like here in the USA, I assume that it's what they want to wear. That's about it.
You think that when you see someone with a beanie?
What kind of beanie are we talking about? The original one that most now know as a propeller hat? Or the one that is really just a ski cap and now has a race-based nickname that you millennials don't know about? I'm assuming the latter, so only when they're as old-looking as Bernie Sanders. That's my answer.
A hat?
Well, that depends on the type of hat, doesn't it? Actually, I guess it doesn't. Repeat the last sentence from the previous answer.
A hoodie?
No, I'm more likely to think that someone wearing a hoodie is doing so because they're either cold or didn't feel like fucking with their hair that morning. Truth be told, sometimes that's me.
Why do you think all Muslims are Arab?
I don't. Unlike the morons that I'm assuming you imagine to be surrounded by, I am fully aware that there are non-Arab Muslims too. There's African Muslims, Asian Muslims, blonde Muslims, redhead Muslims, and the list goes on more than I'd like to. But why do you assume that all non-Muslims think like this?
Aren't 1 billion people in the Middle East?
While that's true, I can't help but wonder which definition of the Middle East you're using. I'll get back to that in just a moment. Please carry on.
That's geographically, physically, intellectually impossible.
All three of the things you've just said are actually incorrect, and here's why. For now, I'm going to go off of the Wikipedia definition of the Middle East, as well as including Libya, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. There's a few other countries that I would include under other circumstances, but for now, I won't. According to Wikipedia's definition of the Middle East, the current population is about 419.63 million people, taking up an area of about 7.2 million squared kilometers. The definition of the Middle East that I'm using for the sake of this video has a population of about 649.85 million, taking up an area of about 10.5 million squared kilometers. Now you're seeing the Indian stats. Their population is about 1.311 billion people, taking up an area of about 3.287 million squared kilometers. Why did I bring up India? Because out of the two individual nations that have a population of more than 1 billion, India is geographically, as well as population-wise, the smallest. Using these stats, you can see here that the difference in area has it to where the Middle East is 2.19 times larger than that of India. My definition of the Middle East is actually about 3.19 times larger. Applying those same ratios to the population, that would mean that Wikipedia's definition could see as high as 2.87 billion people, whereas my definition could see over 4.18 billion. Now, of course, there's two major problems with this information. The first one, not everyone who lives in the Middle East is a Muslim. And secondly, this assumes the land of the Middle East is like that of India, which we all know that a great deal of it isn't, partially because both areas vary quite a bit. However, technology has been making some breakthroughs regarding the improving of living, the farming industry, and overall environmental sustainability. Look up seawater greenhouses. They're doing some cool stuff. This could happen someday, possibly within our lifetimes.
Why are only Muslims mentioned in talks about religious extremism?
They aren't the only ones mentioned, but they do make up the majority of the discussion, and that's because they make up the vast majority of the extreme attacks in today's world.
Did y'all forget about the KKK?
No, but have you forgotten that they haven't been extremely violent for a few decades, whereas many Muslims in recent years have been going on mass murdering sprees with a wide variety of weapons? I'm willing to bet that I've seen more false KKK accusations by the left in January than legitimate KKK attacks all decade.
Westboro Baptist Church.
As obnoxious and disgusting as Westboro is, they don't go around killing people who disagree with them. They just make asses out of themselves while trying to emotionally hurt as many people as possible. It's not the same thing as blowing people up, running people over, or stabbing people repeatedly, all for the sake of the God they believe in.
Crusades. We all have the bad seeds in the family.
The first Crusades began as an act of defense against Muslims who were trying to take over the Middle East, including what is once again called Israel, as well as parts of Europe through militant actions. Christians haven't forgotten about the Crusades, though I'm sure a good chunk of them are unaware of specific details. What most of them do is try to live their lives as Jesus wanted them to do, rather than power-hungry, bigoted kings and Catholic leaders. They are trying to go past that, and are doing a much better job than the Muslims who are terrorizing the world. Talking about the Crusades when it comes to problems of the 21st century makes no fucking sense. Now go make me a sandwich.
Why do you assume all Muslim women are conservative virginal souls?
While I wouldn't go quite that far with my wording, it's because Islam, sort of like Christianity, views sexual purity as ideal. However, a big difference is how Muslim men view virgin women as opposed to sexually active ones. Some don't care, others would have you beaten and stoned to death for showing your ankles, let alone having sex with someone who wasn't y'all's husband.
And I am, if my mom's watching.
I hope that your mother is intelligent enough to not even watch this BuzzFeed garbage that you're helping to make. And if for any reason she has, that she's intelligent enough to know that you're obviously lying.
Why do you expect every Muslim woman to wear a headscarf?
I don't, but you can't deny that it is part of many Islamic cultures, as well as in accordance to passages in the Quran. According to the website alislam.org, men, whether they confess it or not, are slaves of lust and desire. The hijab protects women from such men. It symbolizes that she has been sanctified to one man only and is off limits to all others. The hijab contributes to the stability and preservation of marriage and family by eliminating the chances of extramarital affairs. Finally, it compels men to focus on the real personality of the woman and de-emphasizes her physical beauty. It puts the woman in control of strangers' reaction to her, which, honestly, that bullshit that feminists like to spew about how the hijab is a symbol of women power and all that kind of crap, I think this is probably where they're getting that argument from. The only thing I could think of, to be honest. I'd also like to point out the middle of this larger paragraph here. Women with shawls and veils can breastfeed anywhere without calling attention to themselves, while baby is protected from dust and flies. In most non-Western societies, the dress and ornaments of women celebrate the motherly function. Ours deny it. While I feel like the wording of that is a little bit on the harsh side, it does make for a pretty good point. But speaking of good points, if you look right here, this is bottom part right here, the combination of a tight, short sweater with tight-fitting jeans with a scarf over the head does not fulfill the requirements of the Islamic dress code. So if you're one of these ladies who does that, technically you're taking a shit on your own religious belief. There's various sections dedicated to this subject as well as many others on this site that I would encourage all to read. But being a Muslim, you should either know this stuff or can go to your local mosque and ask someone there.
Is every Catholic woman dressed like a nun?
Okay, now I feel kind of weird that I chose to have a dominatrix up here while talking about nuns. Only the ones that are actually nuns. It's sort of like a uniform. You typically only wear said uniform if you're within said ranks, or if it's a costume.
Does every Jewish man wear a yarmulke?
I would guess that the majority of Jewish men who actually practice their faith instead of use Jew as a point of lineage probably do from time to time. I'm not Jewish myself, but I sometimes wear a yarmulke for certain Jewish festivals because they are fun. And my mom is a Messianic Jew, so I get to experience the joys of the Judeo-Christian ideology a lot without actually being one of them. Speaking of which, I'm really looking forward to Purim this year.
Does every Shrek wear a tunic?
Yes. Really? No!
Are you really scared that we're going to take over America with Sharia law?
With what is probably the best question in this entire video, my answer is, fuck yeah, I'm scared of that. Sharia is psychotic lawlessness put into a law-like format. In D&D terms, Sharia is chaotic evil but is posing as lawful good. Fuck that. Well, actually, it'd probably be more like lawful evil posing as lawful good.
I can barely wake up for Fajr, let alone wage a holy war.
Just because you're lazy, it doesn't mean there aren't active Muslims that want to have all of America under the Sharia. Damn, I was hoping for some more chances to use Mia. Oh well.
You really think I want to donate 2.5% of my income to charity?
Whoa, Amy, hello. As for you, Princess Jasmine, it's not whether or not you want to, it's that you're commanded to. It is one of the 5 pillars of your faith, after all. For fuck's sakes, you're stupid. I'm starting to doubt that you're even really a Muslim and not some Broadway failure who's desperate for an acting job. What I want to know, though, is why is the required donation a mere 2.5%? Christianity teaches that it ought to be 10%. Compared to them, you have nothing to bitch about. I'm not sure what the Jews teach. Perhaps I could ask my mother's rabbi when I get the chance.
Nah, that's hella McChickens.
What in the blue hell is wrong with you?
What does that even mean? Is that some wink job slang that New Yorkers use? What does McChicken have to do with whether or not you're charitable to your fellow Muslims?
What is the secret ingredient in Church's chicken? It's so good.
How should I know? Not only do I not work there, but I've never eaten at a Church's. There used to be one kind of near where I live now, if you consider 15 miles to be close. They closed down about 2 years after they opened because nobody cared. At least that's my guess. Try searching the web!
How can I hang out with the new pope?
My guess is to convert to Catholicism and travel to the Vatican. You may also need to get a job with the Catholic Church of some sort.
He is dope.
Personally, I think the current pope uses dope. I doubt that he's ever even read the Bible, as everything I've heard him say about religion would suggest that he's an atheist with an IQ of 69. And unfortunately...
You can't fix stupid.
Bonus feature! After doing all of these videos, it's more than obvious than ever that these BuzzFeed fuckwits aren't trying to do good. They're trying to shame people that they believe to benefit from some fictitious power, aka straight white males. These videos, at least some of them, could have been designed with an attempt to genuinely solve problems, or at least address some real shit out there. But no, they instead chose to pander to some political narrative of delusion and hate. Why would they waste a video of this nature to ask about Santa Claus and bacon consumption while ignoring the topics of Islamic terrorists who are blowing up, gunning down, and completely destroying various parts of Europe, the Middle East, and the United States? Now, a few of their questions had real potential, but were delivered in a borderline venomous fashion or in a weak attempt at being humorous. Thankfully, this one doesn't bring up media consumption. BuzzFeed, you are part of the reason Donald Trump won the election. We are sick of being labeled as racists, sexist, homophobes, and any other buzzwords that y'all can come up with. Grow up, stop trying to cause problems, love America, or fuck yourselves with a chainsaw.
Dashing through the sand with a launch strapped to my back. I have a nasty plan for Christmas in Iraq. I got through checkpoint A, but not through checkpoint B. That's when I got shot in the ass by the U.S. military. Silence! I'm not finished! And this is a sad song! Oh.